In this video, I'm going to explain how you track cash in YNAB. It's one of the most frequently asked about topics, the one that I find people are most confused about. And it's really very simple once you understand it conceptually. But I have to say, it can sometimes take a while for it to just click, like the key going in the lock and unlocking the door. But once it does, you're just going to be like, oh, okay, the light bulb goes on. It's going to be so clear. The first thing you really have to understand is that cash is just like having another account. So you have a checking account, you have a savings account, and essentially you have a cash account. So the bank of cash is located in your wallet. Or in my case, I have this really nice little black box, and I actually have, yes, okay, this is embarrassing, but I do. I have Ziploc bags for each type of coin because it's hard to keep counting up pennies. And I write on the Ziploc bag how many I have. And if I don't take any out of it in the month, and the next time I have to count up my cash, I don't have to count up my pennies. And I do the same thing with my quarters, nickels, dimes. The bills I just throw in the box. And the reason I keep it in a box is because I can't seem to hold on to cash. I don't know what it is. It doesn't seem to like me. When I was compulsively spending, I knew money was burning a hole in my pocket because I spent it faster than I could get it in. But now, I'm really careful with my money, but when it's on my person, for some reason, when I go to count it up and reconcile it with YNAB, honestly, it's never the same. So I actually have a lost and found category in YNAB. I talk more about the lost and found category in the foundational course for creating a spending plan and in the video where I talk about reconciling. Sometimes there's a rare occasion that I'll have more cash than I thought I had before, but more often than not, there's less than I had before. So it's just an easy way to account for this disappearing cash. All right, so the black box with the Ziploc bags or my wallet is considered my account for cash. Now just think about it. When you take cash out of the ATM, you're not spending it. You're just transferring it between two accounts. Just like I'm sure a lot of you transfer money between your savings and your checking or your checking and your savings. It's the same thing. You're just moving it between two different accounts. You're not spending it. So in YNAB, you only pick a category and spend money. Very important to remember. You only pick a category when you spend money. So that's the first really important concept. Let's go to YNAB so we can do a little bit of work in there. You have to have an account called cash, just for the reason I told you. Just like if you had a savings account, you'd have that account in there as well. But we're just going to add our cash account. I'm going to add a manual account because it's cash, and of course there is no financial institution. We're going to call our account Cash. You could call it Johnny Cash. You can call it Wallet. You can call it Fred. As long as you know it's where your physical money resides. And the account type is, you can all say it with me, cash. And we're going to start with a zero balance because we're going to pretend that there isn't a penny or an account or any money stuck in my sofa, shoved in a chair, in a drawer, in my purse. I will be talking about this at great length, that you have to keep accounting of your cash. It is part of your money. You will be shocked at how much cash you have in really strange places. So one of the assignments in creating the foundation for your spending plan will be gathering it all up and counting it. But in the case of this exercise where I'm showing you how to account for cash in YNAB, we're just going to pretend you haven't got any at this moment, all right? So we're going to save this. It's successfully added and it's done. Now, you see that I'm in all accounts, that's highlighted, and it's showing you my cash account, and it's showing you my bank checking account, all right? Now, let's say you go to the ATM and withdraw $20. How are you going to account for this? Well, it's really simple. Always do the transaction from the checking account side, because think about it. You're transferring the money from your checking account to your wallet. So we go to the checking account. We're going to add a transaction. We'll keep it today's date. And in this case, I bet you're thinking it should be ATM as the payee, or me as the payee, or cash. Nope. The answer is we're going to do a transfer. And you see it right on the top of this payee list. Transfer cash. So we're transferring money from my checking account to this cash account. And just like I told you, because we're not spending any money, we're going to enter a category. Now, if you want and you have a specific reason for the cash, you can write it in the memo. That's fine. In this case, I'm not going to because I just needed to get some cash to have cash around. And it's coming out of my checking account, transferred to my cash account, and I took $20. And I'm just going to save that. And now you can see that I transferred cash from checking, and you can see that there's an uncleared balance of $20. We are not going to go into clearing transactions and reconciling here. I'm going to have an entire video on that topic. But the balance in the checking account started at $1,800. I've taken $20 out of my checking account, but I haven't spent it. So in my checking account, there's $1,780. But let's go down to cash, the cash account. You see right here, now there's $20 where there was zero before. If we go in there, we started with nothing, and money from my bank checking account was transferred into my wallet. And there's the $20 as an inflow. Okay? Now, if we go up to the budget side, nothing has changed in here. It's not like we have $20 more to budget. Why is that? That's because the money was transferred from the checking to the wallet. I didn't buy anything. So everything is exactly as it was before I did the transaction. Look, there's nothing in the activity because I haven't spent any money. All right, let's now take another example where I actually get cash back from the grocery store. So I go to the grocery store, I buy some food, and I ask them for $75 in cash. You'll see on this mocked up receipt that the total amount spent in the grocery store was $105. Of that $105, $30 was spent on food, and $75 was handed to me in cash. So let's think about that now. I spent money in the amount of $30, and I transferred money from my bank account through the cashier at the grocery store into my hand in the amount of $75. So how are we going to show this in YNAB? Let's go back to the checking account and let's do a new transaction. Today's date, I'm going to put in a payee of Publix. That's the name of our grocery store. The category is going to split. Now, if you don't understand split transactions or need more help on that, go watch my video on split transactions. But I think you should be able to understand that a split transaction just means that one receipt contains two types of transactions. So one example is buying groceries and house supplies. They'll be listed in separate categories. In this case, I haven't spent money in two different categories. I spent money in one category and I transferred money between accounts as well. The outflow at the grocery store was $105. But the total of the food items is $30. That leaves $75 unaccounted for. What happened to that $75? The cashier handed it to me. So I'm not going to pick a category. because the money wasn't spent. It was transferred to me through the cashier from checking to my wallet. Instead, I'm going to transfer to the cash account. And look, YNAB knows, oh, you're not spending it, you're just moving it. So there's no reason to put in a category. And the amount of cash that I received was $75. And now I'm going to save. And you can see in the transaction, I paid $105 at the grocery store. I bought food for $30, and the cashier handed me $75, which I transferred from the bank account into my wallet. And again, if we go back to the cash account, you're going to see that $75 came in to that account from the checking account. Now, what happens if you get cash back for something that you bought? So you want to return an item to the store. Now, people often get confused. Well, I don't understand because I bought it on my debit card. So the initial transaction is going to show up as a transaction from my checking account. Now what? Let's say you bought groceries. And out of those groceries, you bought some fish, and you got home and you opened up the fish, and oh my goodness, it stank. It was really bad. We have a receipt that you can see for $15.32, and in that receipt is the fish that I bought for $7.50. And I take the fish back to the store, and they say, we'll just give you the cash for it. Unlike the other examples that I've shown you, this actually involves a transaction, not a transfer of funds. The first thing we have to consider is that there are actually two separate transactions. So the first transaction is the amount I paid at the grocery store, which was entirely on my debit card, one transaction for the food. Let's first enter that into YNAB. So I go into my checking, I add a transaction, I select the date. Let's put in Publix because that's the grocery store. I pick food as the category. And in the outflow, the amount of money I spent, I'm going to put $15.32. Then I'll save. And you can see the transactions here. That was a singular transaction with my debit card. A couple hours later, I take the stinky fish back to the store, and she says, well, I'll just give you cash back. Now, this is where people sometimes get confused because they're thinking about the fact that they use their debit card to make the initial purchase, but you're not getting the money put back on your debit card. You're getting handed cash. It's not a transfer. You are just getting money from the cashier as a refund. And it is a unique singular transaction on its own. We're going to account for this in the cash account. Go into your cash account, add a transaction, select the date. All right, now we're going to put in the name of the payee. Now, I understand that logically you'd think the payee should be my name or cash, but just about it. If you go back and look at the transaction later and it just has your name or the word cash, you're not going to remember where you got the refund from. So I'm going to put in the name of the store where I made the original purchase because that's where I'm getting the refund. So I'm going to select Publix. Now, the money is going to go into the food category. Generally, if I get a refund, I put it back into the category from which I originally spent it. Yes, I can put it in the inflow to be budgeted, but that's just an extra step. I know I'm getting a refund for food. So I'm just going to put it right back into food. And that's an important point to consider, that money you get in does not automatically go to the to be budgeted. Let's say you get money for your birthday. You don't have to put it in to be budgeted. you can put it into any category that you want. So let's say you get money for your birthday and you're going to buy books for it. You can just put that money into the books category. So there's no rule that says it has to go in the inflow to be budgeted. But for income, such as a paycheck, you definitely want to put it there because you're going to be allocating the money to a lot of different categories, and it's just the easiest way to do it. In this case, as I said, we're going to allocate the money to the food category. Now, in the memo field, I might want to write refund for stinky fish. And again, in this case, it's not money I'm spending, it's money I'm getting in. So in the inflow, I'll put $7.50. And I'm going to save. And you see this transaction, refund for stinky fish, into my cash account for $7.50. Now let's go look at the budget side at the category. We're going to look at the food category, and you can see the activity. If I click on that, you're going to see that I spent $15.32 from my checking account. And you'll also see that I got a refund of $7.50 for the stinky fish. So it shows them as two separate transactions, and it also shows the account associated with that specific transaction. In the next video, I'm going to talk about spending cash.